Good evening, everyone. Time for another silver update. This is the weekly chart of silver provided by netdania.com. You can click on the link below. And I've got the MACD and the volume. So it's my opinion here, when we look at this volume here, this is pretty much the last gasp of the bankers. What does that 40 million mean? Is that contracts? I don't know. You tell me. Whatever that is, it's going to be 10 times the volume that they've done in the past. So this definitely is, in my opinion, their desperate last gasp. I think it's going to fail. I think that the silver stackers have figured this thing out. We're going to see that in the question here about the silver stackers. So before we get over to the story of the night, we're going to talk about this latest article from Jim Quinn, the Burning Platform. I wanted to take some questions from the forum. And the first question is from 4 Ounce. Brother John, enjoyed hearing you and the rest on Silver Doctors. I guess that was myself and Gregory Manarino and Silver Doctors, Doc from Silver Doctors on Unconventional Finance, Elijah's channel. I think that's what he's referring to. Below is my comment on SDB. Do you think I'm looking at it wrong? Mint is never going to get close to selling 60 million ounces of silver in 2013. It will soon be Jack Lou's discretionary decision to halt American Silver Eagle sales. Lou will cite the Kennecott cave-in as the main reason for supply disruption, and while saying it'll be temporary, it will quickly move to a TFN place, a la the CFTC silver investigation, and years from now, it'll still be TFN. Well, the analogy I would make is what we saw with ammunition. You saw probably initially with Obama's first election, you saw a run on guns and ammunition. Then things kind of settled down. You saw a run up in the next election. And then you saw a very, very tight ammunition situation. And then simply an explosion in price. Now, I'm not a big gun guy, so I don't really know. I'm just hearing from what people are saying anecdotally. But supposedly the 22, I think the 22 LR they refer to it as, is up tenfold, and a lot of these other rounds are up tenfold. So that's the sort of thing that I would expect to see if they did something like that. They're going to have to mint that many Silver Eagles, or the demand's going to go somewhere else. When that demand flows somewhere else, it's going to dry up that supply, then it's going to move on to the next thing, then the premiums will expand, and then the price will explode. There's just simply no way to get around markets, and governments have been trying to get around markets for thousands of years. Never in the history of the world has any government successfully gotten around markets. There have been black markets in the most totalitarian regimes that have ever existed on the face of the earth, and I suspect that there will always be black markets. And next question is from Chet Bitcoin Derivatives. After listening to your video about the CFTC, so this is going to be a Bitcoin question. I'm going to leave that for my Bitcoin channel. And this is from L. Walsh 1979. The all-powerful JP Morgan government. Hello again, Brother John F. Thank you very much. The site is one of my everyday sites. This is going to be a bit long and probably a bit on the rambling side, but just wanted your general opinion. After the May 1st huge buy day, now if you didn't listen to the interview that I did recently with Silver Doctors and Greg Manarino on Elijah's Unconventional Finance, you need to listen to that, because the doc confirmed that that buy day was very, very big. He did On the Friday of the SmackDown, I think he said he did the largest day he ever had. The following Monday, he did 2 times that, and apparently on the May 1st day, he did 4 times that. And so listen to that interview. I didn't see the market affected one whit by the so-called bust the bankers deal. I've been a silver stacker from way back. I'm getting closer every day to my 1,000-ounce goal. Not quite there, but close. But I'm beginning to wonder, with all the power of the crooked banksters, the Fed, the government, if it will ever be enough to buy and stack the physical, and if they can ever be truly broken. As we'll see when we look at the article from Jim Quinn, they're going to be broken. They don't even need us to break them. They're going to break themselves. It's so easy to manipulate the market when you have a printing press on your side, and most people don't even seem to realize or care. The powers that be, the media, and all the financial pundits are in their pockets, with the exception of a very few, most notable of which that actually get any true airtime. Peter Schiff, yes, I agree with that 100%, who I also really like and who I believe tells the truth. Yes, that's true. I agree with that. The rest are paid liars. They're paid to lie, as he sees it, but he seems to be fighting a losing battle, and everyone kind of just seems to dismiss him as a Chicken Little. And of course his dad was a tax cheat, which I don't really believe either, and so they just seem to write him off. See the latest CNBC interview with Maria Bartiromo last Friday, where he definitely held his own but was pretty much dissed by her. Also, even though there has been a huge buy in the past few years of physical silver, I'm wondering how much of this was really bought by weak hands versus strong hands. I've never sold an ounce of silver I've purchased, but in these times everyone seems to be in everything for the fast buck, as even Bitcoin seems to have been reduced to a bunch of day traders. I think the crook banksters, JP Morgan, government, Fed, are counting on the weak hands to flood the market with all this physical when the price bumps up to $40 or $50. I would love to see $500 silver, but I'm thinking that unless we truly have a meltdown in the dollar and a huge currency crisis, and this is what we're really counting on, because if we are, you darn should have as many ounces in lead and more ounces in food than you do in silver. It may never happen. Thank you again for everything you do. You're a true patriot, Lee. So, kind of a rambling question, but let's talk about some of these things here. Let's talk about weak hands versus strong hands. Now, if you've listened to Andy Hoffman, he's with Miles Franklin, and he is very well aware of how much is coming in and how much is going out. And I think the last thing he quoted was 1 for 99. So this SmackDown has not caused the weak hands to sell into it as far as the physical side. I'm sure there were a lot of weak hands on the paper side that ended up bailing when we got down to 22. But I don't think there were many. Just as he said here, he has nearly 1,000 ounces, and he's never sold an ounce. Well, that's the same with me. That's the same with everyone I know. So I don't think that this price shakeout is causing any of the physical silver holders to sell any of their silver. Quite the opposite. I think that, as I pointed out with Silver Doctors, there's a tremendous rush of stacking going on. And so it's easy to get discouraged, but you have to look at the fundamentals, you have to look at the facts, and you have to make a decision based on those facts and fundamentals to know that you're right and stick to your position. So let's get over to the Jim Quinn article that I was referring to. This was covered on Zero Hedge. This is from the Burning Platform. The reason I'm covering this is because it's just symptomatic of the type of decline that we're going into. Now, I've warned about this many, many times, but I think Jim does a very good article on exposing this. This is the sort of Cloward Piven strategy that the liberals, Democrats, and possibly even Republicans, maybe all of them, are going for. It seems that they want to bankrupt the system as soon as they can. And this is about SSDI. The number of people on SSDI now exceeds the entire population of Greece. Anyone who argues that the rise in people on SSDI is normal and predictable is either a dumb blank or a lying liberal Obama lover. The aging of the population has nothing to do with the increase. In 1968, there were 51 workers for every person on disability. Today, there are 13 workers for every person on disability. I think even liberal D-bags would agree that medical advancements since 1968 have been significant. These medical advancements would argue for less people being on disability and unable to work. Even a liberal D-bag would agree that workplace safety measures have been increased exponentially since 1968, so that also argues for less disabled workers. The good old ADA law forced all workplaces to become disabled friendly. That argues for less people on disability. The country has transitioned from a manufacturing society to a service society. Workers don't work on dangerous assembly lines anymore. Robots do all the dangerous stuff. Even a liberal ideologue would agree. This should have dramatically reduced worker injuries and disabilities. Everything I've pointed out is true. The tremendous increase in people on SSDI is nothing but a gigantic fraud perpetrated by the federal government and slimy lawyers. The government broadened the scope of disabilities to include stress, depression, and non-diagnosable things like aches and pains. I have stress, depression, and pains too, but I get up every morning at 5:15 and go to work. The SSDI program is a joke. More than half the people on SSDI are lazy, good-for-nothing leeches. They are sucking you and I dry while sitting around eating Cheetos, watching Judge Judy on their government-subsidized cable TV, and texting with other lazy people on their iPhones. And it goes on. Now here's some of the charts. Here is the chart of former workers on disability. You can see it is almost going exponential. Here is a chart showing the increase in unemployment versus the increase in SSDI. You can see the SSDI in the blue line. It's just taking off. And this is the news article cited. 10,900,000 U.S. disability beneficiaries exceed the population of Greece. The total number of people in the United States now receiving federal disability benefits hit a record 10.9 million in April, which exceeds the 10.8 million people who live in the nation of Greece. According to newly released data from the Social Security Administration, and it goes on. So this is what I've been talking about for a long time. The plan is to get as many people dependent on the government as possible. Apparently, they want to get that number very, very large before they pull the rug out so that they have a subservient class. This is a very good post here from Jim. This is a picture of, I forgot his name, but he's the very famous physicist who is in a wheelchair, and he's a very prolific author as well. So it's just utterly absurd. And of course, we know that, I'm sorry, that's Stephen Hawking. And we know that the disabilities that they're now qualifying have to do with mental disabilities. They have to do with behavioral disabilities. They have to do with drug and alcoholism, and it's just crazy. They are using this to mask the unemployment rate and also as a Cloward Piven strategy to utterly bankrupt the Social Security system, which, by the way, never should have anything to do with disability. The camel got his nose under the tent when they started with SSDI by allowing people who had paid into the Social Security Trust Fund to begin to collect early if they were disabled on their Social Security benefits. Once they had done that, then the door was open for people who've never paid a penny into the Social Security Trust Fund to collect as disability. Now they have certified all sorts of fake diseases, fake disabilities, and of course I'm not against disabled people being supported by the government. It's just that there are so many cheaters and frauds in the system now that the people who actually deserve it and the people who have actually earned it are going to lose it as well when the system collapses. So apparently their strategy is to collapse the system as quickly as they can, and they're rapidly moving towards that. That's why I've said for the longest time, I've talked about accumulating physical silver. I've talked about accumulating other hard assets. I've talked about acquiring skills that will allow you to succeed in the coming economy. I've talked about storing food and getting prepared on the land for gardening and maybe chickens or something like that, because you want to do the opposite that they are trying to get everyone to do, and that is to become dependent. You want to become independent because what's going to happen is once they bankrupt the system, then all of these people are going to be cut off. I really can't honestly tell you what's going to happen to them, because many of them are so unhealthy because they've been eating their GMO foods, their highly corn syrup laced foods, the pop, all of the very, very unhealthy stuff. They're going into a medical system which also is corrupt, which has been corrupted by the pharmaceutical industries, who are trying to cure things with continuous treatments of drugs. So the whole system is moving towards a gigantic narco police state, where they want to have you completely dependent upon them, and they want to control everything you do and support you from birth to death. So that's the opposite of what you want to do. What you want to do is become more and more independent, do the opposite of what they're encouraging you to do, and potentially even move to a place where there are like-minded individuals who believe in hard work and who believe in responsibility and who don't believe in depending on someone who is taking taxes at the point of a gun from another person and giving them to you. And that may mean moving overseas to anarcho-capitalist communities like those of Jeff Berwick or Simon Black or Barry from the DR, or some of these people who are promoting expat communities where like-minded folks can get together and escape the type of apparent communist totalitarian system that they're trying to foist on us. And it is rapidly advancing, as you can see from the increase in SSDI benefits. And we'll talk to you next time.